Hello everybody! Welcome to the episode 13 of Competitive Magic with the Carnies. Join me today, we have Javier Dominguez from Spain.
Hello, hello.
And today we are blessed by the presence of, finally back with us, Anthony Lee from Australia.
Hola.
Okay, Anthony, no problems with the internet today. You've been good? How have you been these 2 weeks?
Wonderful. It's life without the internet is truly freeing. So, it's been lovely. But now I am back, chained to you once more by the internet. So here I am.
Did you play some RCQs these 2 weeks that you weren't on the podcast as the RCQ scene restarted in Australia?
Yeah, I played the first one of this season this weekend. I betrayed my teammates and decided to play Nathan Stoyer's Grixis deck instead, and was punished. There was the divine punishment came for me, as in the top 8 I lost drawing many Shivan Reefs and Invoke Despairs together. So that's what I get for not believing. But I'm sure we'll talk about those deck lists later on when we talk about Standard.
Yeah, you mentioned Nathan. He is our new world champion, just 19 years old and already, holding the most important trophy of the year. That is very good, very nice. Nathan has been a teammate of yours for the last 2 Arena PTs, right?
Wasn't it one? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it was one. The one it was mixed. Yeah, he was really good to play with. He definitely impressed me in the historic Phoenix department for sure.
Yeah, we were. We were pretty blown away the whole time. I think. So yeah, it's no surprise to us, and congratulations again to Nate Stoyer.
Yeah, good job.
I remember I got paired against him. We were 3-2, and he messaged me on MTG Melee being like, "If I win this match, which means go to day 2, I'm qualified for Worlds." And he beat me, and then he ended up hoisting the trophy. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, so we'll definitely talk about Standard later today. But first, I want to talk about Modern a little bit. There has been, together with Worlds, a very cool event in Las Vegas during Magic 30. There was a beta draft, and the way to qualify for that was just doing well in a couple of Modern qualifier. And one of those, 2 of those players actually qualified with Merfolk. Javier, do you have anything to say about Merfolk?
Well, I always believed in Merfolk. I think the deck is great. I'm gonna eventually try it. Like, I just keep losing to it when I play Magic online. So go Merfolk. I'm a big fan of them.
I think a lot of people have lost to Merfolk. It's just that most of the time it's the person who's playing it.
No, don't say that, Anthony. The deck is good. I mean, have you ever played against Merfolk recently? It's very intimidating. Like it is a good deck. Like, they have Violent too, and now they have like everything as a card catcher, and they just kill you out of nowhere.
Yeah, today I actually trophied playing Blue-White Control Splashing Vran 6, and I always Prismatic ended the Ether Vial. I even Archmage Charman Ether Vial and put into play Kahera and Solitude, which was very cool with the Vial. But yeah, I respect the Merfolk now. Tomorrow I want to try it for sure. Also, when I mentioned that I loved watching, not actually watching because there wasn't official coverage of the beta draft, but just hearing the reaction people when they open cards like Time Walk, Underground Sea, they open Time Bot, Palato, Beta, just freshly boosters. It's definitely an experience that one of the best experience to me as a Magic player and Magic collector mostly. So definitely jealous to those people, and congratulations to the winner who also ended up opening the Time Walk. So that's a very nice.
Why be jealous?
Was he
man?
one
You
of
can
the
have that
players?
experience too. You just have to buy the 30th anniversary secret layer, and then you can open power as well. It's the same thing. So don't be held back, man.
A lot of discussion about those Magic 30 boosters. We're not gonna fuel into that furthermore, but
I'm still.
let's say that the beta packs are not the Magic 30 anniversary packs.
Oh, really? Look the same to me. All right, let's move on.
That's why you are not our MTG finance expert, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, no MTG finance today.
thank you.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately for sure. What have you done, Javier, this weekend? Did you play in some challenges? Did you watch coverage of the Worlds?
So I actually did a lot of things. So for starters, I did go again to the LGS to play my Saturday morning event. But this time I played a non-luck deck, which was a Blue-Red Murtide. And coming from playing luck decks, this deck was good. Like I was playing the matchups and I was like, wow, this deck is great. I haven't played that many games with Murtide before. Actually, one of the decks I played the less. And it felt like a very good deck. So I now I know why you have like it as one of your favorite modern decks. You know, like you always say it's great. But you didn't tell me how good it was. So I went like 4-0. So it was a good one. And I tried to play Vintage Challenge also, where I think I won 0-3 again. I won 0-3 in the last 4 challenges, I think, or something like that. I played Breach this time. Say it again.
Oh, you changed deck. No more Team of Fluxes?
No, I played Breach because last time I lost to 2 Breaches in a row. And I was like, well, I used to beat Breach. I used to beat Tinker and lose to everything else. But now I also lose to Tinker, so let's see. And I played Tinker. And I lost 2 other things as well, so it was not very good. I just can't win. I just get a lot of, I just got killed like a lot of times with like, you know, the classic Tinker for whatever. So it was not, Vintage is not treating me well lately. And
Modern did.
Huh?
But Modern did, and Modern, of course, way more skilled decks in Modern than, sorry, let me rephrase. Way more luck deck in Vintage than in Modern. So.
Well, in Vintage every deck is a luck deck because every game where you draw Power 9 cards is like, wow, this deck is so good. And when you don't, you feel like, sure, this kind of like a Tutor and a Breach and 2 lands and a Saga and a Brainstorm is like even good. You know, like of course you get Mulligan, but it's the same kind of it's the same kind of feeling when you draft a cube deck with like 2 Power 9 cards and then you don't draw them. So. Yeah, Modern treated me better. And on Sunday I didn't play anything because I just watched Worlds. Like I watched a lot of coverage of Worlds this time. I just loved it, to be fair. Like I don't think I have watched as much coverage for an event since BBD's Worlds, I think. Like I just watched a lot of them. I love the whole situation. I was not expected, like I wasn't planning to watch as much. You know, because like lately I've been watching less tournaments or whatever. Like also the structure of the new Worlds is less appealing to me as a watcher as the old ones, because like the other ones were like, you know, all the platinum players I knew about. This tournament was like 2/3 of the field I know a lot about them, and the third one knew less or whatever. Like you know, also been playing like more relaxed with Magic, but I just loved it. I just tuned on Friday and I just, you know, like enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, on Sunday I decided to skip the challenges just to be watching Worlds and enjoying, and I just did. It was very cool to see like all these like awesome players playing, battling against each other. It brought me a little bit of fire, to be fair, about tournaments. I don't know if you guys watch a little bit or if you had like this sensation, but you know, it was like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, for sure. A little bit of that as well, and you know, that also came from helping work on that before the tournament as well, then watching everything unfold. So yeah, for sure, it definitely brought a little bit more enthusiasm back. We were excited about that.
Yeah, something you mentioned, like because me, like Anthony, and a little bit me also, we helped a little bit some of the other players there. More importantly, we were like aware of what was going on in the metagame, which also makes you feel like, you know, like if you understand what's going on in the metagame, you probably enjoy more seeing the different tweaks of the decks definitely. And see, how people play the games differently because of their perception of the metagame, right? We saw a lot of like, you know, turn 3 pass with cards like Fable on the hand or Rafine, just so they could like try to bottleneck the opponent's 3 drops or whatever. Like this kind of high level plays, not only you can only see them in like this kind of tournaments or whatever, at least like commonly, but also they can do it because they tested so much with these cards. They actually know navigating these games this way can be profitable because, I mean, we saw like, I don't know, like in the semifinals or whatever, like Nathan just had like the Fable, the perfect Fable, right? They had like the hardest turn into Fable, like turn on the play, whatever, and he elected not to play the Fable in turn 3. You know, this kind of plays. Like, I loved watching it.
It's great.
So yeah, that was my weekend. That was it.
Which friends have you helped testing?
It was Simon.
Simon
who recorded
Nielsen.
us. Yeah, it was Simon Nielsen. It was Matti.
Matti Kuisma,
Yep. Julian
Julian Wellman.
and Carl
Carl
from the
Sarab.
top 4 competitor. Yep, Carl Sarab.
Okay, what decks did they end up playing?
So they played Esper mid-range / Legends and the Transmogrifies decks, even though Julian debated on the standard portion. The
Okay.
team won. They
Julian
won
played
with
the Blue
Titan of
Red
Industry.
deck, and the rest played Esper. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
They were different decks, but they were all
Okay,
good,
good,
of
good,
course.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also this weekend I was in Berlin. I went to once again car market to do videos. I was together with Frank Karsten, Torov Severin, and Arne Uschenbeth. We were making both match videos as well as some like fun videos. It was definitely a lot of fun. Also a lot of work because we ended up both on Friday and Saturday ending at like 8 p.m. for 4 videos a day. It was definitely a lot. We had Worlds coverage on the background. A lot of cat oven and flesh spirits in the times that I have seen it. So yeah, Explorer looks like I don't know, different format than Pioneer for sure. So it's interesting for sure to take a look at that. But also modern, of course. Javier, you said you played Blue Red Murktide. Which version? With Blood Moon main or Charm?
No, I played with Charm. You told me it was better with Charm, right? So I listened to my favorite content creator.
Yeah, he's testing your loyalty.
Did you also put Season Pyromancer in the sideboard?
No, I did not because I choose to play Jace. I think Pyromancer is probably better, but I just wanted to cast a Jace. You know, like it's been a while since I cast a Jace in paper, and it's a card I love to play with. So I just went like, yeah, I'm gonna play Jace. I'm sorry, Mango. I never casted it. So
did you cast Jace?
No, never. So I'm gonna still play Jace if I play the deck again until at least I get to cast him once, and then decide.
How many Ledger Shredder did you play?
I played 3.
How many Channeler?
2 channelers. I think maybe.
Okay, so it's very similar.
Maybe it's better to play more channelers than shredders, but I never played with shredders, so I wanted to also get some reps with it on, playing in cards, in paper. Try to not forget the triggers and such.
Very similar list to the one that won on Saturday by Sokos, a Greek player who loves Shredder. He plays always 4, and he ended up winning the event without Blood Moon, 2 in the sideboard, but 2 Charm in the main. So very old school list, basically.
Yeah, like, I mean, I based my list on your article, though,
Yeah, for sure. Other decks that did well this weekend is definitely, once again, Respect the Cat, Austrian streamer who is top 8 challenge 3 in a row, 3 top 8 challenge in a row. It's definitely super impressive by him with Keruga Omnat. So I believe we already talked about on the podcast about Keruga over Kahera, but if we haven't yet, Keruga is the companion that you cannot play 0, 1, or 2 cards, so basically like the Rhinos or the Rhinos deck. But so you're playing a free interaction, sorry, not free interaction, but overcost the interaction that you actually pay cheaper for, like a Leyline Binding, Fire Ice, Dead Gone, Dismember, and Touch of the Spirit Rail. This is a cool enchantment that I've played in Uranus once, where you can Fury Solitude and you can blink Fury and Solitude. So yeah, I mean, definitely one way to build your 4-color deck. Another way to build your 4-color deck is for sure the blue-white Splashing Brandon 6. Again, just today before going live, I 5-0'd with it. I was very impressed, of course, by Brandon 6, and yeah, the deck is strong.
I can't wait
to see
what
yesterday,
decks.
actually. I played the deck with... Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what other deck can we put Ren and 6 in? Because if we can put it in blue-white, the sky's the limit, right? What else can we put Ren and 6 in?
In Murktide, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
In Merfolk.
I was actually thinking that. I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to bully Merfolk twice. But, maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, Ren 6 was... Well, I mean, I played the deck yesterday. I played like a Pralim as well. And that deck is well built. I'm not sure I agree with some of the of the card choices, but I was impressed also with the power level of the deck. Ren 6 is a perfect card for blue-white. You want to hit all the land drops, and it's like a finisher too. I felt like 4 Archmage Charms were maybe a little bit too much because the deck has so much intrinsic card advantage that maybe you don't need that much. I don't know if you felt like that, Mengu, but that was my impression. Other than that, the deck is pretty good.
Did once again, sorry, Jace the Sculptor for talking you down again, but was Jace the Sculptor.
Yeah, no, I also agree there. Same reason though, because if the game goes long, your deck is good enough that you don't need to pay full mana for a threat that's designed to get more card advantage. I think Subtlety will be actually better in that slot. I know they're on the sideboard, but making them a mana card and just have extra sideboard slots for, I don't know, Blood Moons or Balakuts or whatever that beats you. I think that will be maybe better.
Yeah, for sure. I came to the same conclusion today on stream. I was always bringing in 2 Subtlety for 2 Jace, almost in every matchup. So that would definitely be my change moving forward.
Yeah, also getting sideboard slots in Modern is pretty good. Modern is a format where if you lose to one deck, you can just put 2 sideboard slots against that specific deck. I said Balakut, but it could be anything. And that matchup is likely going to change a lot. And I think this is a deck that could benefit from that. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot to tune about that deck. It looks like also 23 lands is not that many. I felt that today when my Ren 6 got countered, I missed land drop. But yeah, I love having free spells like Subtlety and Solitude to just card advantage. You do card advantage so you can spend cards extra. It was a good deck. It was a good deck for sure. I think there's a lot to improve, but blue-white has always been a great deck, and balancing playing around Blood Moon with splashing Ren 6 is hard, but if you can get around with that, I think you have definitely one of the best decks in the format. Once again, 4-color, which you can build again, either without Ren 6 and Kiruga, or with Ren 6 in a blue-white control shell. So a lot of ways to build your control decks, which is going to probably be good online, in paper. Always risky because timer is behind the corner. I don't know how your game felt today, but today I had a lot of opponent finishing with the red timer. My league took 3 hours, so in paper these things can hurt. Of course, we always talk about these.
I think actually paper is maybe less dangerous than Magic Online for that, because the very long games, I think they are slower online because you have to click a lot. When you have to tap 10 lands, it's tap, 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 tap. So I think actually just about game actions, I think paper is faster, even though shuffling is slower. I think this deck is a little bit like that, where sometimes you have to click a lot of things, but you can just... I did go to red time, but because I was playing the prelim, I went to lunch and I completely forgot about the prelim. So when I came back, I was almost going to lose from this connection. It was 16 minutes left, and I had to play a super long three games against the black red, and I think I won 4 minutes or something in the timer, but but not because the deck was slow, but because I was not very smart at putting an alarm or anything.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean with Subtlety and Solitude now you definitely attack. You don't have any creature land, but yeah.
Yeah, Salty was just very good. I won 2 or 3 game ones with the card. I was I want to play this. At least for me, the lesson I learned from this deck is that card is great. I've played that card in other decks, in 4-color control back in the day, but here it was much better. I don't know why yet though, but I loved it.
What card you said?
Subtlety
or Solitude?
Subtlety. I don't know how to pronounce it actually.
Subtlety.
Yeah.
Subtlety. Yeah, today I played against Murktide twice, and they went turn 1 Ragavan on the draw. I went turn 2 Ren 6, and they Subtlety my Ren 6.
Ouch.
And at that point, I couldn't put it on top, because then they would steal it with Ragavan.
Yeah, exactly. The card just does so much.
Yeah. One deck I want to highlight is the one that came second in the challenge. It's Blue-Red Prowess. So very often, even today on my stream, people ask me, what is a budget deck I can build? And while this is a competitive podcast and we don't talk about budget, this deck has only 4 rares in the non-land section, which were Soulscar Mage, so not even that expensive of a rare. So yeah, if you have some fetchland laying around, Blue-Red Prowess, definitely a deck that can compete with the powerful Modern Horizons 2 cards. A couple of episodes ago, we talked about Mono Red with Underworld Breach. This is instead just old style, Sprite Dragon, Expressive Iteration. You have Dragon's Rage Channeler, but yeah, very similar to what was before Modern Horizons 2. And other decks that caught our attention in the challenges that are worth talking about is the Teamer Rhinos. So actually not Teamer, but 4-color. 4-color Rhinos, I did my power ranking last week and I placed Rhino quite low. I placed it, I believe, in position 11. Obviously, I thought about it, and I feel that without Yorion, the deck was like never amazing in my opinion. And without Yorion, with Yorion, I loved it because I think that it gave this extra angle of grind. But without it, people used to be playing Sign of Draco, which I really dislike as a card. But finally, I see a Rhino list of 4-color without Sign of Draco. There's still Leyline Binding. There's Ardently, so more threats in this case. I like this list, honestly. Makia, I think, did a good job in building a Rhinos list that I like, and I want to try this deck now.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, this deck seems to be planned to do the Rhino thing. Like, it's a little bit more like the all Rhinos ones. Just like, I'm gonna do my thing and that's it. But just playing the binding without like all these Teferis and whatever. I think that's a smart direction, and I mean definitely paid off for them. Yep.
The sideboard is super interesting. They have 3 Blood Moon in a 4-color deck. Usually people side in Blood Moon against you. What do you think about that?
Well, I think Blood Moon here, like this Blood Moon, I like it because it reminds me of the old days where we will play Blood Moon in decks like John Midrange or whatever. Like Blood Moon here is not a card that's designed to punish you for playing 4 colors, which is not the Great Blood Moons. Like that's a fine Blood Moon sometimes, but the Great Blood Moon is the one that just completely destroys your opponent's plan, right? AKA the Blood Moon against the Amulet or decks like that. And I think that's why this deck plays Blood Moon, because it's the best card you can play against Amulet, which is otherwise like a rough matchup, right? So I think that's here for also Balakuts or whatever. Like you play Rhinos, you play Blood Moon, and that's also enough to win some games against the slower decks as well. Also, like against a 4-color control 1-6 decks blue white, I think Blood Moon also comes into play as well, especially on the play. I assume they also will have this on the play a lot more often, like way more often than on the draw.
Yeah, I mean, like having a ton of non-basics in your deck doesn't preclude Blood Moon from being good. If you can play a 3-mana Armageddon, there's a lot of spots where that would be good, and you can make Blood Moon into that often enough. So, yeah, I mean, there's no reason you can't play it in a 4-color deck.
And also another super interesting choice, which unclear if it's right or not, is Weather the Storm. Just 2 copies. So against Burn, this player would bring in a couple of copies of Weather the Storm, go to Cascade, and have a 20% chance, 25% chance of hitting Weather the Storm or Crashing Footfalls. So
you can
I'm
adjust
not a big
it,
fan
right?
of that. I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be 25%, Mango, remember, because you can sideboard out Crashing Footfalls accordingly, so you could make your 50-50 if you wanted to, for example. I'm not saying that's necessarily correct to what they did, but I'm saying, that's a possibility, so we shouldn't assume that it's any particular number.
Okay, so you mean like leave 2 and 2, so you have win conditions, but also like have more. That's actually probably the plan.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. This is definitely, again, an interesting take. Rhinos also did very well in the beta qualifier with 2 Rhinos players making to the top 8. One was playing 4-color with Sign of Draco, and the other one was playing straight up Temir with Blood Moon main deck. So again, Crashing Footfalls with the addition of Leyline Binding is opening up a lot of possibilities on how to build your deck. mainly there's three route, which is 4-color with Sign of Draco, 4-color without Sign of Draco, or Temur with Blood Moon to prey on the other lane and binding decks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
I
also
mean,
more decks that there's one deck I actually liked a lot. There's a 4-color control version with Omnath, which is a little bit it looks like a cross between the Yorion one and the blue-white Splash Random 6 deck from Terminal Justice. You know which one I'm talking about? Like, what do you think? Because it's like Omnath, Solitude, Binding, Counterspell. It's a lot of cards that are the same cards as the blue-white deck. But instead of like playing some of the Jace cards, they play Expressive Iteration and yeah, the Omnath itself, which doesn't seem that important here, I guess, with Ajorian, but I just feel like this person probably came from the blue-white Grand deck and just tried to put Omnath into it, and I do like how it looks. Also, Iteration is a very, like you said, your deck struggled when they killed you round 6 or whatever, while Iteration will have you covered, and this is still a very good Binding deck. Probably even better than the blue-white, even if this deck is a little bit less functional in terms of like mana, because counterspells with Forest and Basic Plains obviously not great, but also should be better against Blood Moon. I think this might be better. What do you think?
I wonder why they still have Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. That was not a card that impressed me. I mean, you played it because blue-white controlled, but I'm not so sure about it. Like, once you have Omnath, I think you can cut Teferi.
Maybe, but Teferi is still like sick with Leyland Binding, right? And pretty good with counterspells regardless. But I could see just playing Waters. Yeah, even Zero. But I mean, I guess it will be important to know which one of these decks beat each other. Like, if this deck loses to blue-white or the other way around, we will probably have a winner, because the interactive package is very similar. Like, this one doesn't have Archmage Charm, but yeah, it has like Iteration and Omnath. Like, it's Charm and Jace versus Iteration and Omnath. I'm not sure which of those cards are better against unfair decks, but against Rhinos, for example, I would rather have Omnath, I think,
Yeah.
but
So
maybe not.
Terminal Justice top-8 the challenge with basically the blue-white Brandon 6 deck. Another card that's missing from this list is Chalice of the Void. I played 2, and this one put him in the sideboard. So he still has one Lightning Bolt main deck, which is the only one drop. So, again, I think a lot based on the metagame, expected metagame, or just testing things out in general. Maybe this person started with the blue-white Brandon 6, as you said, and was like, I feel like we could play Omnath, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if Omnath is that good here. Also, I am not convinced Omnath needs to be a 4-off anymore. Like, Omnath without Jordan, it's still a good card, but you could just...
With Akiruga.
Yeah, like, you could just play, like, some copies of Omnath, some copies of the card, the subtlety. It's very hard for me to say the card.
Yeah, subtlety. Yeah, for sure.
It's a card we could play here, right?
Yeah, I feel like... I wrote that in an article for sure, but Omnath is very good. I think with Kiruga, because you have the 8 mana to go Kiruga, like you used to do with Yorion, but with Kahira, you very often don't have mana sink anymore, so you just waste the mana often, even with an Omnath in play. Like, it used to be that you untap with Omnath, you win, but here you can easily not have anything to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think, like, this deck looks too much like a control deck for Omnath to be good, but I like the fact that this player cuts the charms to just put cards like Iteration and Omnath. Like, it could be Iteration on something else that's not Omnath. But I think if you take out the charms and you make a mana base like this, the mana base becomes much better, because you don't have... The Plains is not very... You can go Plains turn 1, Plains Prismatic Ending, and then just play your interactive spells like before. Yeah, I think there's still a lot to explore, and I think that's cool. Exploring this deck.
Just like Rhinos, I mentioned, it was a Yorion deck, and now it's no more. And so, like, they're like deciding what's the best list now. Same thing with the 4-color deck, which is, still deciding what's the best list. And with the lack of premier event like Worlds, it's gonna take a while before we, solid go onto a specific version of the deck.
Yep.
One last deck that I feel like we could talk about is Calibrated Blast, the luck deck. For,
I need to ask how much of a luck deck that is, Mango, from 0 to 10.
No, this is 10.
10 out of 10.
It doesn't get.
Okay. So we can use this as an
I mean,
example
this
of
is
luck deck.
yeah, like this is both a deck that needs to mulligan to a card, and the combo isn't a one card combo. Like Tibat's Trickery, I guess, is a 10. This might be like a 9.5.
Okay. That's a powerful luck deck then.
Yeah, and back to play Keruga the Macrosage in the Companion Zone so they can bluff being the 4-color Omnath. I think it's a cool thing that can give them some benefit in the mulligan decision, because if you play against Keruga these days, you expect them to be 4-color elementals, but so you might keep a hand, a slow hand, but boom, instead it's a combo deck where it can get you badly. So I like that tricky little thing, but I believe this was enough modern talk. Do you have anything else to add, or what you plan to do, what you plan to play this Saturday at your local game store?
I don't know if I will play yet. I might just keep home testing, but if I think I'm not gonna have like too many opponents, I will just play probably 4-color control, maybe more tight, but I definitely a counterspell deck. Yeah.
You own all the card for Terminal Justice for Color Omna?
I think I do. Yeah, I do. So I'm
Wait,
ready.
do you have four? Oh yeah, okay.
I do.
So
yeah.
let me try to get you with some cards that you might not.
Okay.
Zagoth Triumph.
I do have all the triumphs. Yeah.
Okay. Let me continue searching for some cards you might not have. Hallowed Moonlight.
I do have Halloween Moonlight. 2 copies, exactly. I am very ready for this, Mengu. I am ready.
Yeah, I think you have every other card because you played for Color. You have Vivian before. So,
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm ready to go.
Leyline Binding. Did you buy it?
Yeah, I do have MTG Finance Linen Binding.
How much did you pay for them each?
I don't remember, but way more than if I had bought them when you told me to do so.
Oh,
So next time I will
okay.
listen to Mango Finance.
Mango Finance, the best finance.
Exactly. Buy high,
sure.
never sell.
Buy high, never sell. All right. Enough modern. We're gonna move into standard again. Not next weekend, the one after. Me, Javier will leave for Sofia to practice. We have a testing team. Pretty 15 people, 16 people. We're testing a lot these days. So in respect to the other teammates and also the listeners, we would rather not talk about Pioneer, just because you don't want to share some of your information, as well as you don't want to lie to the listeners.
Yeah, exactly.
Am I correct, guys?
For at least I think for us it's important that like we talk about something, we're saying all we think and we don't keep anything. And to maintain that, we also have to tell you when we are not going to be able to do that, because we have an upcoming tournament that's important for us. And so that's why we're going to skip Pioneer here, because we want you to count on us saying everything we know. And in this situation, we will not be able to do that. So we just open with this, and I think that's the best way to do it.
Yep, it's a matter of integrity to us that we don't say anything misleading, and if we were trying to cover information that we had and that we did not feel that we could reasonably share without detriment either to ourselves or to our teammates who don't necessarily have a part in this. I think this is the best, which I understand may be disappointing for some people, but we think it's important that we're honest. Although we will, of course, be happy to talk about that stuff after the event, and I think it will continue to have value afterward as well. So yeah, we won't be talking about Pioneer for a couple of weeks as a result, and we hope you
Anthony,
understand. Yes.
When is it your qualifier? Is it the week after?
It is the
ours,
week
right?
after, yes. So I suppose we won't talk about it until then either. So one more week. I suppose.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did forget. I did forget that I was not going to Sofia. I'm going to Sydney, which is close enough. But go on.
Yeah, Sydney. Do you like Sydney? I don't remember. What was it?
He doesn't.
You don't like it.
He doesn't.
You don't like it.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's
He totally
fine.
doesn't.
Like, I would rather go there than, I don't know, somewhere horrible. But it's not high, Like it's not high on my list of cities in Australia, really.
It's okay. It's okay. Whereas I've never been to Bulgaria. I'm excited. We have a friend of ours that has selected a bunch of restaurants for us, so it's gonna be interesting for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to try the Bulgarian, gastronomy and see what's up there.
I would be more excited to
Yeah.
see how Mengu complains about Bulgarian gastronomy. You weren't part of the team yet, Avia, but I remember when he came to Australia, to Sydney, in fact, and then we all got ice cream, and he complained it was too frozen, which is one of the most ridiculous complaints I've ever heard about food ever. So,
No, it's not. Gelato needs to be
see,
like you need to like lick it and it moves. It's not like it's slow. You know what I mean?
see what I mean? He's defending his position that ice cream can be too frozen. So,
Okay,
you're in
I
for
was
a
I
treat.
was
It's one of
having
the
this.
it's one of the complaint when you taste an ice cream at gelato place, it'll be like, oh, it's too frozen, or it's not too frozen. Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
Or it like melts too fast. These are like aspects that you can complain about.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. We don't know these things, and you do. So maybe when you're in Sofia,
Oh, okay.
Javier will find out some new ways that food can be bad. You'll be like, this bread is too long, or whatever, Like, and you're about to get an education. So, look forward to that.
I'm gonna
So-
side with Mango here, though. I think the ice cream can be too frozen. Anthony. I think I'm gonna side with him. Yeah, it's very bad when you go to a supposedly be good ice cream place and it's like ice. It's ice cream, not ice. So I'm siding with Mango for sure. I'm sorry, Anthony.
Well, I have a lot to learn, it seems.
So this weekend in Germany, there was a Italian pizza place where we went to, and it was great because clearly the owner was an Italian cook, so it was great, no complaints. And then the next day, we got like some fast food, let's say, and they had pizza, but it was like I think it was French or German, not sure. It was called like flambe, tarte flambe, I think. But like it's not pizza because it has a different name, but it looks like, stuff on a piece of bread basically, which I did not like. And Torov kept on insisting it was pizza, and I said no, it's not. They even have a different name. So
Well,
That's it.
I think probably there's a lot of places in the world that thought that if you put some stuff on bread, it'll be pretty good, and that's basically all pizza, isn't it? There's just pizza variants all around the world, alternate art, borderless pizza, everywhere. So maybe it is pizza.
Borderless pizza.
Yeah, I don't know.
Foil pizza.
Foil pizza, yeah.
Right, enough pizza. Let's move to standard because there's a lot to unpack this weekend. Shall we?
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. So in standard, we had Wolves, as you might have heard. So I mean, the big thing is Wolves had 68.8% of Esper mid-range, which is I don't think I remember a Wolves with this with an archetype being this common. The only tournament I remember like this is Oko, where all the Oko decks together were like this. Maybe I'm wrong, but isn't this like one of the most dominant performances in terms of like deck selection, Anthony? Or
yeah.
Why outside? Why did this happen?
Historically, yes. But I think a lot of people are misinterpreting this. So the first reaction to this number, the first reaction was obviously nice because it rounds to 69%. But the second reaction was, wow, I didn't realize that Esper was so much better than everything else. But it actually isn't. So what people are interpreting this data as, well, many people are, I should say, is that they see it as Esper being overwhelmingly better than other decks. But what this only says is that the players at Worlds overwhelmingly said that Esper was better, not that they said that Esper was overwhelmingly better. And that sounds similar, but it's not quite the same, because a lot of these people, I imagine, only just chose Esper. I know certainly for the people that we were helping, it was not very... it wasn't very clear cut. They could very well have submitted more of the Jin deck and less of the Esper deck. They could very well have played Grixis instead of Esper. That was very, very close until the end. And I assume it's the same for a lot of these guys. So, I think I wouldn't take too much away from this. I think Esper is a very solid deck, and it may indeed be best for reasons that we'll get into shortly. But I don't think it is natural to think, the last time that a deck was this much of a pro level event was the Oko food deck, and that deck was just way better than everything else. But the percentage of the metagame that it occupies doesn't necessarily reflect its power relative to the other decks. I think that's very important to note, first of all.
Yeah, it's that's a very smart answer. I didn't think of it this way. Like I agree with you. Like the deck is, even if it's the best deck, it's not the best deck by a lot. But yeah, I mean that's when we see a metagame situation like this, we always think like, yeah, this deck must be busted. But it never occurred to me that it was like, everyone in the tournament thinks this deck is just a little bit better.
Pretty
but
much.
Enough people thinking that result into the same.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about the. I would say this tells you that the confidence with which we can say that Esper is better is pretty solid, because of course these are all players very invested in doing well and they're very good players, but the idea that Esper is the best by a lot is not necessarily the same thing. I think I guess we should talk about why Esper was probably considered to be best, of course. And I think it's not really that you can't beat Esper or something like that, but it's that it's the hardest to attack. So out of all the mid-range decks, they're all relatively even against each other. And in a very mid-range heavy metagame, then maybe Grixis is best, I think. Or at least it felt like it was just a little ahead of Esper. And certainly Nathan Stoyer's performance at Worlds would suggest that, it's pretty good for Grixis. As soon as deck lists came out, it was looking pretty good for Nate already. But the big thing about Esper is that it's less attackable from the fringe sides. So if you play decks like Enchantments or Jin, then I think those decks are better at attacking Grixis than they are attacking Esper. And that's what makes Esper actually the best. So in a relatively stable metagame, Esper isn't really that far ahead. But when people might be coming at you with all kinds of stuff from the side, then yeah, maybe Esper is safest. And at Worlds, in an uncertain metagame, you don't know what people are going to try to do. I think that's what makes Esper the best. Not the matchup against the other top decks, but the matchup against the sides. Yeah, the fringe.
That makes a lot of sense. Also, well, there's 70% of Esper mid-range. I also want to talk a little bit about the different versions, because every team, like every group of players, they have different approaches. We saw Ludovic, we saw the Siphon Inside. There's different cards. Clearly, each team thinks their cards are the best ones for the metagame. What's your opinion as a standard expert? Like, what do you think about these cards, and what do you think? Like, why did these players come to like such different conclusions? Because some players clearly thought Sheholder was weak. Other ones thought like Sheholder was a key card, like because that's what the deck lists say, right? Like also the players playing a lot of other waters. There's a lot to unpack here. So give us your thoughts, please.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of it is about what kind of metagames you expect. I can say with specific respect to Sheoldred, for example, our group considered Sheoldred to be quite bad. And I think Mogged, the Magic Online grinder, tends to go along with that as well. And the reason for that is that Sheoldred is somewhat of a liability in these mid-range mirrors, because it's the only one that can trade down entirely. Because if they just kill it with an Infernal Grasp, or it gets eaten by an Invoked Despair, something like that, it's the only card that doesn't provide any value, really. And also causes you to trade down. So you trade evenly on cards, but down on mana substantially. So because of that, and well, of course, I think everybody going into Worlds expected a lot of mid-range decks. That's why we rated Sheoldred much lower. The others, everything is built a little differently. Some of them are just cards that people hadn't really thought about. Like, for example, the most successful Esper list, I think, or at least going by the fact that two of them were in the top 4, included Ludovic Necrogenius, which is, it's just a card we just didn't consider at all, right? So, and I think most people hadn't either. So some of them,
I had to read it. I had to read it because it was like I cannot know what it does, but I know what it does for real.
I want to also I was watching, I think it was game one of Nathan versus Eli Cassis of the Sunday,
Hmm.
and Ellie went like Ao died, and he like collected company into two creatures basically,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. So the 2-drops were actually important for making our like a better card, for example. But being able to get 2-drops is massive, which is a big part of playing lots of 2-drops. So for that's
And then
yeah, go on.
sorry, let me explain you my. So I wanted to know what Ludwig did, and I asked the people around me, and none of them did. And then the Wizards coverage showed up a card which I was hoping on screen, which I'm hoping was Ludwig. Instead, was the 7 mana Shieldred. I don't know why.
I think that they're just a production error, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he untapped, paid a lot of mana, got like a large creatures with 3 counters on it, and no clue what's going on. Like, what's going on? This card seems too powerful. Can you tell us what it does exactly now?
It's a blue black 2/3. When it enters or attacks, you mill a card, and then you can pay blue blue black black and X to exile X creature cards from your graveyard, and then it will become a 4/4 with +1/+1 counters equal to X, and become a copy of one of those creatures. So, for example, if you paid 5, you
Okay.
could make it a large copy of, well, whatever you want. It also
How?
Yeah, so
its name, it keeps its
yeah.
name, so you could end up with 2 Rafines or 2 Sheoldreds. You know, that would be cool.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I think what happened is paid 6,
Yeah.
and he had a 6/6 owl.
That's right.
That's what happened.
That's right. That's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
basically,
yeah.
it becomes a copy of something in your graveyard, but sized, bigger, which is it's quite helpful. And I mean, all of those effects have a use, right? Like milling a card has value when you have 4 Denic, 2 Underdog in your deck, or just being able to copy like any of your powerful cards. Yeah, where was I? Oh, yeah, so there were some cards like Ludovic Necrogenous that we just didn't consider. Because one of the puzzles for Esper was figuring out how many 2-drops to play. Because after Denic, they get a lot worse. Even Underdog, and Underdog is a decent card, but it's not one that gets, it's not that good to play a lot of copies of them because they don't stack well. So that was kind of a puzzle that we had, and we tried various ones. But Ludovic Necrogenius does seem like it might be a very good one. And the reason those 2-drops are so important are, well, we've mentioned that they make Owl much more powerful when you can flip 2 permanents into play. But of course, Rafine is a much better card when you have more 2-drops. So yeah, being able to find enough decent 2-drops to support those cards was important. We didn't find any that were good enough for us to play so many. So we ended up playing more copies of cards like Make Disappear and Siphon Insight in a way to try to make the deck better on the draw. So that was a more spell-based version, and I think kind of reflects a different approach to deck building in general, right? Like one group tried to play to the strengths of the deck, in that the best cards like Rafine and to a lesser extent Owl are much better when you play lots of strong 2-drops. So they made that work, and what we did was kind of try to address the weaknesses of the deck, which is that for Esper, the worst weakness is being on the draw. Esper is much worse on the draw than on the play, much more so than the other mid-range decks in the format. So that's kind of what the Siphon Insight Make Disappear approach is about. Yeah, then there was a third version played by another group, which looked a little bit more like a normal version of the deck, except for one thing which would be very easy to miss, which is that they played 27 lands, including a lot of channel lands, which includes the one I Gandro, but 2 Takenuma. That's run more than usual. Nate played 2 Takenuma in Grixis as well, but that's a bit more believable. But 3 copies of Otawara, which is we definitely have to talk about that. I think because that's the one thing I'm not entirely sure I understand. Do you have any thoughts about the 3 Otawara, Javier?
Yeah, like I think so. It's just a matter of like risk reward as everything in Magic. Okay, let's imagine Otawara costed 1 to play as an unsummon. Like if it costed always 1, I think we will actually play 4 in a lot of decks, just because we will plan to use it more as like an unsummon than as a land.
Sure, it would be like
So for me,
Hazard, yeah.
Yeah, like it will be more like a spell that can actually be a land, and not a land that can be a spell. So for me, what I see here is they say, okay, sure, Otawara, like the third Otawara does not count as much as a land as the other ones. Okay, but it's still fine because they still kind of play 26.7 lands or 26.5 lands. And the same goes with other lands. Like if Iganja costed only one, we will actually play 2 or 3 Iganjas in a lot of decks, and so goes on. And that's why I also think partially why we see so many decks with 2 Bosages and not the other lands. I think that's what's happening here. With so many legendary creatures, you can count on these lands to be, like spell lands, and I like it. I think if we take most of the Esper decks, they probably should run one more Otawara or Iganja, particularly Otawara, because it's the best one at, making tempo swings. Mm-hmm. But you see Cassie's deck or whatever, you just play so many legends, you can reliably use it for 1 or 2 in many situations. And I think they often lead into dramatic comebacks. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the powerful card you can have, while also making you less likely to miss the 3rd or 4th land drops in some situations, which I think is a big deal, because being on the play is good as long as you don't miss land drops. Like if you miss land drops, the game's often over.
You're just giving it up, yeah. So
I think I like it. I actually love it. I think all the other versions would probably be better if they should have done. I mean,
I'll be honest, we didn't consider it at all.
No, we didn't. Yeah, of course. Also, we didn't consider Ludovic. Those two. I think those two are things that should probably be adapted going forward. Like if I had to build an Esper deck now, knowing what I know, learn from Worlds, I would probably play these 2 cards, like 2nd or 3rd Otawara and Ludovic.
Yeah, I think we can take something from each list, right? Like I think. I think there's good elements to each, but they all represent something slightly different. And I think that's very interesting because, I mean, it also shows that they're willing to review even the most simple things, right? Like, most of us have just kind of gone off very similar looking Esper lists. Like maybe we've balanced, like, for example, the list, Carl's list, for example, is a little adjusted to be able to cast Siphon Insight, but we never really, challenged just not playing, 1/1/1 of each spell land, right? But clearly this team did, and it was quite a payoff for them, I think. There were a bunch of different Esper decks, and I do think they will also reflect different metagame expectations as well. And I think that's very important. Like some of the core cards are going to be the same, but even the ones that you think are just generic powerful cards are more metagame dependent than it seems in standard. That's always the case. Like Sheoldred, for example. Being a card that we just thought wasn't good in mid-range fights. So, yeah, there aren't really many Sacred Cows, I think. For Esper,
there's even less cows. Like Alicassi is the 2nd place. I mean, it was 1 game, right? In the finals, he played 3 wedding announcement.
Yeah.
Like, when I saw the desert, it was like, wow, 3 wedding announcement? Wow. We were supposed, you said it here, the central pieces of standard are Fable, wedding announcement, and Rafine. Yeah. And Cassis just decided to play 3.
Yeah.
Here, what I understood when I saw this deck list, which, by the way, doesn't agree, Jacob, he was playing almost the same deck list, but with 4. I guess Cassis thought, okay, winning announcement is, the best card in the format on the play, but my whole deck is so good on the play, I don't want to play 4 copies of a card. I can draw and be bad on the draw. That's what I thought when I saw it, but I still went wow, 3 winning announcement, That's surprising.
It could also be a hedge against Invoke Despair, because I usually prefer to lose 2 life and they draw a card than to sacrifice a permanent. So it could also be that he wants to hit a certain number of or limit his exposure to Invoke Despair, which was probably a.
That's Unleashed Inferno, I guess. Unleashed Inferno was a card that was quite played on the top. 4 players out of the 32 played it, and if you get your announcement hit by Unleashed Inferno. Well,
but I think probably going forward we won't be seeing much Jund, will we? Because it did miserably in this Worlds event. I think Esper might have been the most popular, around the most popular the deck has ever been at Worlds. But I think Jund might honestly be one of the worst performing Worlds decks of all time. It got absolutely slaughtered. I think the Jund midrange deck, I think it might literally not have beaten anything other than the Mirror, right?
I don't remember the numbers, but it was not good. Also, only 4 players, but
but then the Jund reanimated
such
deck
a small
also
sample
place.
price.
They won 2 matches against decks other than the other Jund deck that lost to everything.
Yeah,
it was Jund got absolutely slaughtered. So we kind of had that paradigm of Jund, Esper, and Grixis going into this event, but I think coming out the other side, I think unless there is some adaptation of Jund. I doubt that we'll be seeing that much of it going forward.
So now we want to see Esper, Grixis, and Rogue decks that try to play Grixis, right? Like counter spells or
like the Jin decks,
counterspell decks and Enchantress or whatever, right?
I think the Jin decks might be a little higher than the rest of the rogue decks. But I'm not sure I would class them in the rogue decks, but they do fall outside that strict mid-range paradigm, I suppose.
Counter spells decks, I guess. Like
I think
we
there's
have
like a
Esper.
very there's like a very clear Esper and Grixis on top, and then I think Jin below that, and then maybe some different rogue decks, like maybe you get like Invoke Despair, or no, not Invoke Despair. What's the other? Invoke Justice and Enchantments, that sort of deck, like below those. I think it's kind of what I would expect the format to look like. I guess we should talk. I mean, of course, the winners list as well. Grixis. There's not. I mean, there couldn't be much variation in Grixis decks in this event because there was only one. But yeah, it has some good things about it that are worth noting as well. Most of it is relatively stock, I suppose. There's a couple of main deck Duresses which are good. But the card that stood out to me was Astri, the Blazing Sky. The red.
Salchicha. The salchicha in Italian.
I mean, it says sushi in the name. I guess sushi and salchicha might be culturally similar. I've no idea. Oh, it's because I just looked at the art of the card. Okay, I see.
It's the flying sausage.
It's a flying sausage.
I didn't understand why. Now I'm actually looking at the card. Oh, it's blazing as well.
It used to be. It used to be Stormbred Dragon. Stormbred Dragon was the first Drago Salsicha, sausage dragon. And now it's Atsushi.
Wow.
This is much more of a salchicha, though. Like it really.
If you look
it's
at
even spicy.
Stormbred, yeah, I think they're both very
salchicha.
Sausage. To not say anything else.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think Nathan didn't. I think I didn't see him sideboarding it in because I mean it's presumably for the mirror matches, right?
Yeah, and it did occur to me how amazing that is that you have this like sweet tech for the mirror, and then you're literally the only person playing the deck in the tournament, which is, I mean, no one would have foreseen that. Certainly, we had no idea there would be only one Grixis deck, and I'm sure, Nate obviously had no idea there'd be one Grixis deck, otherwise he wouldn't have cards specifically for the mirror in his Grixis deck. But I can't imagine just showing him. I mean, because if you play like Bant tokens or Mardu midrange, there's a very good chance you'll be the only person in the World Championships playing this deck. But no one would have registered Grixis being like, I think I've got something that no one's going to see coming here, you know? But
I think they're related, but I think that's like between Esper being 70% and Grixis being only one player, probably the second part is like more surprising, right? Like then again, one leads to the other one. But when I saw the Metagaming Raiden was like, what? Like one Grixis? I mean...
Yeah, I was like, is there an error?
Yeah, like isn't this like is a typo, whatever, you know?
It was bizarre, yeah, because we thought it would be about equal, right? Like we thought maybe
exactly. Like yes, Esper and Grixis would be like, you know, like 12 players, whatever, and it's like
they all just picked Esper.
They all picked Esper. Like wow.
Yeah,
you know?
that was really remarkable. But I think going forward, I mean, it's not just obviously there are the optics that Stoya actually won the event, but. I mean, I think if everyone expects lots of Esper going forward because of the massive representation that it had, then yeah, Grixis would make sense, right? So I think we probably won't ever see another tournament that's so lopsided in favor of a deck like Esper, or at least not. I mean, as the standard format will change very soon, but I don't think anyone should expect their standard events to be so tilted towards Esper rather than Grixis, and to expect those to be roughly equal, I suppose. So yeah, and I guess the other big story was the Jin decks, right? Which they actually did very well in standard. They might have been the best performing in standard overall, right? 2 people played them. Jean-Emmanuel Depras played Depras? I don't know how to say it. Anyway, he played Mono Blue, and Julian Wellman played Blue Red. And they're slightly different decks, I guess, or maybe more than slightly. But yeah, I think those decks will be very popular as well, because if you don't want to play those very grindy, very long mid-range matchups, then the Jin decks are your only. They're maybe not your only, but they're certainly by far the most compelling way out of that.
They are the same idea, right? Like they just play counter spells, trying to capitalize on like the big spells the other decks play.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
Just Jin is a powerful card. Jin is a powerful card. Like it's just
really
good.
Impressive. Yeah, a big part of it is that counter spells are by far the cleanest answer to like these super powerful 3-mana enchantments. So best answer to a Fable or Wedding Announcement, just counter it. I think Julian's deck plays a little more controllingly. I don't know if I agree with this "is it tempo" label that's very popular, because I think a lot of games you win by being more of a control deck a lot of the time. It's possible that Gin Emanuel's is more like a tempo deck, I think. Because you might go counter, Tolarian Terror, hold up a counter your play, and then mash you with a 5/5. Whereas Leah, Disciple of the Drowned, wow, I really forgot about how crushing that card is until I recast it. It's just, you just kill everything, play a Leah, and no more creatures for you. So
it's easy to forget. Yeah, you're playing against the Leah, they play the Leah, and it's like, yeah, this game's over. Shall I concede or not? Because I'm losing regardless. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think between the two, it's not immediately clear which one is better. Obviously, Izzet has the advantage of getting to play Fable of the Mirror Breaker, pretty good magic card, but it doesn't always fit perfectly in this kind of strategy where you often want to pass with mana up anyway. I mean, you can just play on turn 5 with mana up. Standard games go long enough that that's very, very reasonable. But yeah, it's interesting to see how close they are. I guess blue-red also gets answers to Shieldred. You get to play cards like Rending Flame that kill it, or Fires of Victory. So yeah, I think they're close, but they are fundamentally similar decks, I suppose.
They're trying to do the same in the metagame, I think. Like, they're trying to do the same thing, attack the same way, and they just found a different shell. But one is likely better than the other.
Yeah, I'm just not sure which.
Because they play the same thing. I mean, if you try it, let us know. We'll try them, maybe. You think those are your style? I mean, you said you cast Lear, so you definitely try them.
I mean, we were also playing the deck before the tournament. So.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't do as much on that as Esper or Grixis, but certainly paying more attention to it. Although if I did play mono blue, I would definitely add the Cemetery Illuminators. That was one of the best cards in the Izzet list we found, and I mean, I think I made this joke where Cemetery Illuminator plus Haughty Djinn is just like the 2022 Runaway Steam King plus Experimental Frenzy. It's it's pretty wild when you go off with it. It's a lot of fun. So,
Illuminator is just a good card. Like, just read the card, just good stats, good effect. It's a card that it's good enough to be played.
That's what I think.
If
really,
you play this and they play Fable, you have not lost the game or anything. You can just win.
I think this is what sets this deck apart from the previous versions of Mono Blue that were popular at the very start of Standard. The ones that tried to play Delver of Secrets and a lot of other weak cards. Like, the thing that appeals to me the most about Blue-Red is that it's not really playing anything horrendously underpowered, right? Like, these cards all just work really well to support Haughty Djinn. And I think that's kind of key. I mean, that's the key to like making a lot of these decks work, right? You figure out how to make at least respectable cards work together. Yeah, instead of going into a full brew. So,
all right, I think that was a good breakdown from the World's metagame. It was a very interesting event. Also, there was like Explorer and Draft, but we don't
have much to say about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like Explorer is like almost only been played here, and I mean, we don't have much knowledge about it, and we haven't really touched much about Draft. We maybe should do it eventually. I think it will be a good podcast, but we probably should have to do like a special podcast about what we think makes Draft or whatever. But that's a story for another day.
People are excited about it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. We could try to do that, but I think it should be like something apart. And let's move to another format. Mengu, what happened with Legacy?
Here.
What happened with Legacy this week?
To bring you the Legacy. So this week we got your friend Baku. We talked about him last episode as he won back-to-back challenge 2 weeks ago. He on Saturday continued the streak, won again, putting probably the record to 3 challenge win in a row. I don't think that has ever been done, and probably very hard to repeat, right?
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So. Baku. Yeah, good job, Baku.
Even went 9-0 this time.
Would you say that he had Baku to Baku to Baku wins? Huh?
Oh. I got.
Come on.
Why is his nickname Baku? Is that from his surname?
I think Baku is a sort of spirit, right? I think, or an animal.
I actually have no idea about the origin of the nickname.
Of some sort. It's also the capital of. It's capital of Azerbaijan. Yes. Maybe it could be one of those two things, right?
Yeah.
And then again, as I said, he's known for his love for bread. So I would not be surprised if it has anything to do with bread. The nick.
But no, there's a bunch of
Same.
Baku cards in Kamigawa. It must be to do with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the one that's a bunch of flowers. Yeah, go on anyway.
Anyway, same list as last time. Blue red, one Delver Secrets, two counterbalance,
Classic.
Blue in the sideboard. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. If you want to win and you are good at playing legacy cards, this is probably the best deck for you, right? Would you say that?
I don't know. Actually, I said it last week. I don't think that necessarily means Delver is the best deck. Like, I mean, 1 month ago, NCD won 2 challenges in a row with 4-color Jordan control, right?
Yeah.
And that didn't make it so the deck was the best deck automatically. So I think it's kind of similar. Like, when a very good player wins a lot with a very skill intensive deck in Legacy, it doesn't mean the deck is just too good. You know, like it might be just.
For sure.
So I'm not convinced. I haven't played Legacy much lately. I will after Sofia, but I will try Delver again. But I will be surprised if it now can beat like the 4-color ones. But maybe it can. But I will have to sit down. I'm not convinced beforehand.
First, second, and third, all playing Blue-Red Delver on Saturday, whereas on Sunday we see 0 Blue-Red Delver. Another player that has been consistent in these weeks has been Butakov, who top-8 3 challenges in a row with Mono Blue 8-cast, the deck that so far I would choose to play at the next 4 seasons. I really like the deck. I think it's super fun to play. Chalice of the Void on turn 1, and it seems to be one of the strongest deck. Also won on Sunday by Jack 9 a.m. So again, pretty stock things going on in the Legacy weekend, right?
I want to add something you might not like, but I feel like it's my duty to say it. Like, isn't 8-cast like a little bit of a luck deck? At least like 5 out of 10 or something like that?
It is.
It is. Wow. Okay.
It is. It's just that whenever I play this skill deck in Legacy, I feel like I lose against Carpet of Flowers and the white removal spell decks. So it might just be that I'm not as skilled as I can be in other formats. So choosing a luck deck in Legacy, I think, raises my odds at winning.
Well, it has worked for you a lot, very well in the past, so... Okay, continue. I think the deck is very good, by the way. I think it wins a lot because every time you see like 2 weeks without enough hate for this deck, it just comes back and just takes everything by storm. It's just good enough to do that. Like, you need the meltdowns and such. Yeah.
I don't have enough experience or to play Blue-Red Delver against Carpet of Flowers decks or against all the control decks that are populating the Italian tournaments. I feel like whenever I play against Just Get Control, I lose. Whenever I play against, 4-color control, I lose. And those decks are very popular. Whereas with 8-cast, I feel like you don't really have bad matchups. I mean, maybe Elves is a bad matchup, but I don't expect to be that many. So
Good.
that is my reasoning for that. There's also Infect, which I have never seen in so long, right?
Yeah, but it never, like, it's back. It's been always like a tier 2 whatever, but it didn't get any new cards. But, I mean, except Miss Kambu out of the sideboard, though.
Oh, that's true.
Like, one Miss Kambu out of the sideboard, which, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, they overload the removal and just slam the Miss Kambu. I'm surprised, like, only one, though. Like, you could play 2 or 3 if it's your big plan.
Yeah. This list plays 1 Taiga, main, no forests.
For the boo. I like it. I have to say it. I like it. Miss Kambu is everywhere. Every corner you blink, and even Infect just spam. Next thing you know is 8-cast will cast Miss Kambu out of the sideboard with Moog Southpaw. We'll see.
Yeah. Last week we talked about Moloch and White Plume Adventurer. This week I want to talk about another brew by the same player, Andy Fernandez. He also top-8'd an event with Red Green Valakut, and today I streamed with the deck.
In Legacy?
It's Legacy.
Legacy
Talking about
Valakut?
Legacy.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've streamed with the deck today. He actually started 3-0, so super high, and then lost to Mono Blue, like Combo and Delver, but close matches 2-1, 2-1. Basically, you play Commune with Spirits. That's like the Ancient Steerings, but for enchantment or land.
Okay.
and you're playing Valakut Exploration, Cursor of Krufix, Dryad of the Elysian Grove, and you try to just grind them with either Ramunap Excavator Wastelands or just kill them with 4 Valakut, 4 Dryads.
So it plays like exploration or fast bones or stuff like that. Stuff like that.
Yeah, it plays Valakut Exploration with the Exploration and Dryad, so you just go off and...
Okay, I understand.
You just have 2 Valakut Exploration, I dealt 10 damage in one shot, because I had 5 lands coming to play.
That's interesting. I mean, it's definitely like that deck must be great against the control decks, right? Like they just cannot interact much with what you do.
Yeah, it's funny. My first 3 opponents were 2 Yorion Esper deck for some reason. And none of them were Cephalid. And another white control deck. So yeah, it was good against control, and then but it's cool that you can innovate in Legacy and things like that. So yeah. A little bit to talk about the cool new brews, but how about we talk about the People's format?
The People's format, yeah. The Mango's
Alchemy,
format.
finally.
Alchemy,
No,
that's only when Mango is sad and building a barricade.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
We don't talk about Alchemy here, Anthony. We never did talk about Alchemy.
Next week, Anthony. No, sorry, not next week. The one after. Me and Javier will be in Sofia. If you want to make a podcast about Alchemy, I think you can.
Wow, yeah, I'm just gonna not do anything but talk about Magic 30 cards and Alchemy. Yeah, I'm gonna fill up an entire hour with that, and also ice cream that's too frozen. All those 3 things. Yeah, go on, talk about Pauper.
All right, what's in the format of the people? I like the name though. The name is pretty catchy. It's catchy, I like it.
The People's format is great.
People format, yeah. It's pretty good.
I think it's a great name.
It is.
But yeah, this weekend I have the big event, the Pauper Gathering in Rome.
Oh, true. They're gonna win it?
Over 420 people pre-registered.
Wow, that's like a big tournament.
Yeah, it sold out. 350 slots sold out in 3 hours. Then they reopened the registration, and now it's capped again. It's gonna be huge. I'm ready. Definitely playing Blue-White Cog-8. I've been testing that deck a lot. Love it. Played at the Card Market VEEDEOs as well against Torov. He was playing Mono Red. Yeah, I feel like...
I have a question. I have a question for this. Does this tournament have like a stream or something? We can watch you if you go deep?
Yeah. They've streamed it the other times as well. I think it was even in English, actually.
Oh, great. Oh, wow. Certainly let us know if you go deep so we can see what's going on there.
Yeah. They've asked me to do the stream one other time. I said, no, I want to play because it's fun.
It is.
Okay.
I want to talk about the winner of Saturday challenge, which was Mattia Rizzi, a very good player. I've often talk about him. He said he played Pauper for like the first time or something, and he won the challenge with Blue-White Cog-8. Makes me happy. Awesome. The format, honestly, I don't want to say it's stale because, obviously we're talking about Magic Online, which is not the real thing, but the decks that top 8 are almost kind of the same ones. You have the Cog-8, the Affinity, the Mono Red, and the Blue-Black Terror. So you have these 4 decks. And then I feel like everything else is a little bit far behind. Even Fairies doesn't see play that much anymore. It made one top 8 appearance, but honestly, it's been a while since I've seen it. So I can feel like with these new sets, the metagame kind of stabilized over these 4 decks. But again, Paper is a much different animal, especially a 450 people tournament is going to be way different than a 50 people challenges where it's almost always the same people playing, right?
Yeah, playing and decking each other, so they always end with the same deck list. Yeah, 500 people is a lot of people. They will have I think you could play a tournament where you have 7 different decks or whatever, right? It must have been happening before. Yeah.
For sure, yeah. Because that's the problem with this taking the challenges results, and especially in a format like Pauper, where people don't really practice too much. They just net deck the previous weekend,
Yeah, sometimes you see the same deck list winning 4 in a row, but it's not because the deck is just the best or whatever, because the winner net decks the winner from previous week, and so the chain, because you see a famous player winning a challenge, and I'm going to copy this player, and then it happens again and again and again, and yeah. It's kind of funny.
Discover N winning on Sunday with Affinity. He's definitely a master of Magic Online, and Affinity is a great deck. And Blue-Black Terror way less play, and Blue Black Terror has a good matchup against Affinity. I believe that Blue Black Terror has a good matchup against Affinity, and Mono Red has a good matchup against Affinity. So it's kind of weird for me to see Affinity keep on winning, but I guess it's just that good, right?
I mean, I haven't played Pauper in some weeks, but I see this Blue Black Terror deck, and I cannot believe this is not the best deck. Like, this deck just looks completely obscene. Like, it just looks massive.
Very good.
That's my opinion.
It's very good for sure.
Without playing, I just look at the deck list, and it's like, it's just only good card that just costs so little. You must play like 10 spells in the first like 4 turns, whatever.
You know what, Pierre? It's kind of a luck deck.
Yeah, you said that before, and I don't agree a lot, but you're the expert, so I concede it there. You know, if it's kind of a luck deck, it's kind of a luck deck.
So I played against Torov. He was playing Blue Black Terror, and he was complaining that he wasn't drawing very well, and that previously when Arne played it, he played a 3 Terror turn 3, and I said something along the line of, "We don't have to talk about this now, but you're playing a luck deck."
Yeah, it's gonna stick with with us. It's a very good concept. So yeah, I mean, turn 3 terrors is the luck deck definition, I guess.
Frank Carsten, he was also with us, and he, of course, the most famous mathematician of Magic. He said he's listening to the podcast a lot. He enjoys it. He said,
"Oh, that's nice."
And he also enjoyed the concept of luck deck.
Who doesn't?
Of course, not backed up by any calculations or anything. Just by my own definition. That's it.
I mean, it's a good thing, since you're the one making the concept, you can define which decks are luck decks or not. You don't have to, calculate
Use
anything.
Use power wisely, man, please. Yeah, if you make.
Yeah. I have the power, but I use it very wisely.
Okay, great power comes great responsibility or whatever. Like have another name.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Spider-Man one.
Exactly.
All right, Mengu, Anthony.
Yes.
I think that's good for today, right? Anthony should probably go sleep at some point. So.
Probably.
What time is it in Australia?
It is about midnight now.
Oh, okay.
It could be worse.
Could be worse.
Could be worse.
All right, let's wrap it up.
It could be worse.
Shall
I could
we?
be in Sydney. Yeah, go on.
Let's wrap it up. Could be worse. It could be in Sydney.
You see, I told you he didn't like Sydney, but you still asked.
Yeah,
I asked because I wanted more content.
No, I mean, I also told you after you asked, so you could know before. All right. So usually, thanks for listening. You can find us at Mingo09, Javier the Magic, and MTG band card, especially for MTG Finance advice.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's it for today. Say the words, Mingo.
I'll say the word. Thank you for listening, and have a great